burning debris or art? A waste of money or part of a valuable heritage? To the untrained eye, these neglected classics may look like junkyard wrecks, but they're about to begin a journey from the auction block to restoration through the eccentric world of the English Autojumble.
It's late summer, and the lanes around Lord Montague's stately home at Bewley vibrate with the rumble of elderly engines.
Like the sign back, you can use it as a pad to get in. Right, let's hold up there for now.
For 2 days every year, the world's biggest Autojumble is assembled in the fields near the village.
Organisation here now, then. Get hold of this.
Our problem today stems from the fact that we put the table in flat on the bottom, so we're having to get everything out before we can lay it out on the table. But it's always chaos. You're never going to be any different.
Autojumbles are an amateur affair, typically British, eccentric, and friendly, yet devoted to just one cause: the preservation of old cars. And Austin Healy leads a two-stroke Saab through the gate.
Park the car down the bottom car park to the right, please.
A pre-war Wolseley Hornet. Here at the Autojumble, car parts as well as cars are of value. John Firth and his friends have brought piles of scrap all the way from Leeds.
That's half a 1932 James van engine. I think there's only about 2 left. No, one of them's without an engine.
"10 o'clock, and the buyers enter the grounds. Each one intent on finding that special part, buying a complete car, or just learning more about the wreck they're determined to rebuild. The trick is to look uninterested, casual, and if possible, broke. But beneath this carefully cultivated camouflage, these expert restorers know the value of everything.
You got the other one, have you?
I think I have enough bits. I've got to check.
Yeah.
But I think I have enough to make a pair, and then that's 120 quid.
So what's the best you can do then?
40.
40?
Yeah, that's absolutely it.
I'll think about it.
Fair enough. Is it for a 7 or a mog?
Yes, for a 7. But as I say, I bought the other one yesterday for 15
Did you?
quid.
Well, you did well.
That's 45 quid. And I got
But, I
rims
mean,
as
you
well
know,
yesterday.
I mean, I don't know, do you want it for a refurb Ulster or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what screwed the price of the lamps up. I mean, they were always difficult to find.
I mean, yesterday I got a bracket and a bezel for 15 quid.
Well, you did very well, you know. But I said that, you know, if they go back home, they're going to be a complete pair of lamps, and they'll be here next year for 120.
35?
No, £40, that's it.
You haven't got a rim anywhere?
Not here. It would have been on them, and it wouldn't have, you know, I'd have put it on if I'd have had one here. But I'm sure I got one at home, and I think I can then make a pair up.
What do you think? Sure. Make yourself a bargain or something.
They've always been a difficult one to find, but I mean, obviously with everybody screwing Ulsters together, there's a much bigger demand now.
I'll go on, I'll have it. Begrudgingly.
Cheers.
Here, price is governed by the law of supply and demand. The same goes for complete, or rather incomplete cars.
This vehicle's complete. Put in the oil in, yeah.
For the first time, Christie's will auction rusty wrecks rather than fully restored vehicles. Their collection is a treasure trove of classics that have seen better days. This incomplete 1951 Jaguar XK120 Roadster has a book price of $18,600. One of the first Japanese classics to come under the hammer will be this 1967 rotary engine Mazda.
Sorry? Why can't it have been on that? What would have been on the commune? What have we not ordered? Oh yeah, that's the rotary.
More traditional is Lot 17, a 1934 Wolseley Hornet Special. Everyone is interested to see what Christie's can raise on such unpromising material. One of the first in the catalog for auction is a completely decayed Bentley, and not even a rare one at that.
This car, may not entirely believe me, but was driven off the trailer into the marquee. Lot 21. The 47 Bentley Mark 6.
Whoever buys it will probably end up here. This stall has been pitched at Bewley for the last 20 years. Inside these anonymous red boxes are discontinued but essential oil seals.
This one here is a very scruffy looking oil seal. They're very valuable. This is an Austin Big 12, heavy 12-4. 1928 to 30. Right? Although they're rusty, you see, it's been around all this time, for years and years, lying in somebody's garage. And they write to me and tell me what they've got, so I have to do a bid. But it's still usable, you see. It's cleaned up. It's not being used on a vehicle. But it's still operational, you see, because the leather inside is perfect. But it's all you can get. Someone has to use it. But it's there. And being as these cars really don't do a high mileage, they only go to a show and back, it does the job.
Not even an oily fingerprint spoils this rather over-restored Alvis. It's one of 40 or so privately restored cars for sale. Not by auction, but by price. How about $54,000 for a rare Italian classic Alfa Romeo Giulietta SS? Or memories of a trip to the seaside in a mid-50s Ford Popular. The evergreen Morris Minor in rarer convertible form, designed by Alec Asiganis, the man more famous for the Mini. This fake is a kit car based on a mid-30s Duesenberg. An original would be worth more than the total of all the cars on sale here. Among the most desirable British sports cars are well-restored chrome bumper MGBs. In fact, if it's British sports cars you're looking for, there is no better place to learn about them than Bewley.
When people have got a speciality like we've got.
John Peters is the resident expert on Jaguars.
About the parts, the history, the deviations, the cars that are not really correctly restored, or maybe things on a good car, the one or two things that might be just wrong, and to somebody who just not really familiar, it doesn't matter. Something shouts at you, and oh, that's wrong, it shouldn't be like that. It might only be a little thing. It seems silly to anybody else outside, but to the cognoscenti, so to speak, you know? It's wrong, and if it's wrong, that can mean a difference. It could be, well, the difference between somebody will buy it and they won't, and with a rare car, say an XK120 fixed head, 120, which is a very low production car, isn't it? If you talk about that, I mean, that could be 60, 70,000 pound car in mint condition. But if somebody doesn't do that right, well, it could be 10,000 pounds off the price, and for something very silly, which might have cost him 500 pounds. Right, isn't it?
This Jaguar E-Type V12 convertible restored to jewel-like perfection is going for $73,000. Real style for about the same price as a new luxury car. But a classic car need not be ostentatious or even recognizably a car.
Lot 2. This is the BMW 600. Lot 2. And I have an opening offer of £400 for it, at £400. At £400, this little BMW at £400. Any advance? Yes, 450, 500, against 250, 600, 50, 700, 750, 800, 850, 900, 50, 1,000, £1,000 beside me, at £1,000 beside me. You're out at the back at £1,000. For £1,000. The bid's beside me. Anybody else want it? For £1,000. Selling on my left at 1,000 then. Last time for £1,000. David?
Selling for $1,500, this rare 1957 BMW is a bargain.
The Discovery Channel will return with classic cars.
Travel to the edge of the supernatural.
Fort Henry, 2.5 years old, blonde, blue top, green shorts. If you'd like to have a look around, you can find him, bring him back to Autojumble Control, please.
The classic car Autojumble at Bewley is really a festival of eccentricity. Even so, some restores verge on the fringes of credibility.
Trying to buy a body for my Rolls Royce, and I can't find one. I live in Poland, and I'm trying to restore the car over there. So we just arrived last night. I'm trying to find a body shell, hoping I can find one here. If I don't find it here, I guess I'm dead.
No relation to the famous actor, this Humphrey Bogart owns a Rolls Royce.
Well, I took it there because I couldn't afford to restore it anywhere else, and I got deeper and deeper involved in restoring the car, and now I'm at a point where it's so deteriorated I have to find a body shell. I'm hoping I'll find one here.
No. I've got some 10s at home. Yeah. If you want to go to 10s, there'll be 50 quid. Yeah. You might as well wait, mightn't you?
John Barlow knows Austin 7's inside out. Confronted with details like this, he needs to.
Pinion shaft, lock-in washer, and on the main shaft, and then the small lock-in washer where the flange is on the up the end of the pinion shaft.
Not unless you can use either that or that would probably be fairly near.
This is the pinion one, I think. That looks
that's for from the camshaft.
Is it? Yeah, well, that one's the size of the small one.
Oh, well, that might do.
And then I need a bigger one over the shaft, which is bigger than these. It's bigger than those.
Bigger than those two.
Yeah.
After that, you can only go. They're rear hub ones,
that's
ideally.
right. Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll take that one.
Right.
And
okay.
As well.
Right.
The unusual request for a Rolls-Royce body startles dealers, so Bogart decides to try for the small parts first.
These are little parts and bits and pieces for post-war Mulliner or James Young or any kind of Rolls crank handle, switch for the hood to make it go up and down, a dome light switch, and catches and.
Right. Now the overcent, I think probably those, a lot of them you get from that chappie in the export centre in London. I'm trying to think of his name and I can't. If you can give me a phone number, because there is a place in London who does a lot of post-war, and also the other people to contact is W.A. Price.
Oh yeah,
because they break quite a few.
Yeah, I have them right here.
W.A. Price. Yeah, I was going to say they break quite a lot.
Okay.
And you might well find.
How about a body shell? Would you have a body shell?
I haven't got a body shell, no.
Okay,
but
for a
cloud. Well, that's a cloud, an ordinary standard steel cloud.
Or a Bentley S1. You know.
Right. Well. Certainly prices would have those.
Okay.
Because they break quite a lot of them.
All right, fine.
And I'm certain that.
For every car, there is an expert. With advice for the first-time buyer is Classic Car Magazine editor Malcolm McKay.
I would look, first of all, at the state of the sills. There's some underseal over here that is flaking off. It may be quite rusty underneath. Again, there's filler in the top of this wing. Look for all the water traps and all the mud traps. Check underneath to make sure that the chassis members are in reasonable condition.
A tattered 1964 Vauxhall Viva might not be everyone's idea of a classic.
It would be a shame if cars like this disappeared completely, because they are part of Britain's motoring heritage. There would be no point in just having all the exotic cars left if we didn't have the standard family cars to compare with them.
A better investment would be the last of the great Rovers, or even an original Mini.
It seems silly to pay £3,500 for an old Mini, doesn't it? But it's very, very nice and very, very original. It all looks as it should be under the bonnet, and all the original features in the interior, which are very nice to see. The original door pulls, the correct seat trim. These early ones were very prone to water leaks into the footwells, and that can rot them out very badly. On the other hand, it's very easy to buy all the necessary panels to repair them, and you can rebuild almost anything nowadays.
Including a 1949 Triumph Roadster that once looked like this one in the auction. But choosing the right wreck to invest in is where the real expertise shows.
Well, this does look a heap, doesn't it? It's an Austin Shearline limousine. Very nice car in its day, but it's led a very hard life and it's in very poor condition now. This would be almost impossibly expensive to restore. The interior is all leather and it's completely ruined. The dashboard, all the wood, has been affected by water and would all have to be completely replaced. A lovely character car, but unbelievably expensive to restore. And body panels will almost certainly be completely unavailable at the moment. A restoration of something like this could only be undertaken by a real enthusiast. If you had it professionally restored, it would probably cost you £30,000 to £40,000, and it would be worth about £5,000 to £10,000.
The key to selecting the right rebuild is the ratio of rust to restored value. This is a completely rotten, but quite rare 1936 SS Jaguar.
The 1936 SS Jaguar 2.5 litre, lot 40, and I'm going to start this at £11,000. £11,000 is bid, £11,000 the Jaguar. 11,000. Any advance for £11,000? 11,000. Yes, sir. 12,000. 13,000. 14,000. 15,000. 16,000. 17,000. £17,000 against you. That's 17,000. That's £17,000. Any advance on 17,000? That's £17,000. 18,000. One more. 19,000. 20,000. No. At £20,000 there then. At £20,000. At £20,000 on my right. At £20,000. You're all done. Last time, but 21,000 on the telephone. Against you now at 21 on the telephone. 21,000, 22,000. £22 in the room at £22,000. You're all down for 22. 23,000 she's back. At 23,000. At £23,000 now. Give it one more chance. At 23,000.
Christie's were right. Someone else's rust is gold dust.
That's £23,000 on the telephone. All at 24,000. £24,000. Hurry you at £24,000 in the room. Last chance. 24,500. Yes? Is that a bid? 24,500. That's 24,500 on the telephone now. Make it around 25? No. Last chance. 24,500. 24,500. Round it up for me at 25. At £24,500. At £24,500. Absolutely sure? Finished? At £24,500. All done? Thank you. Telephone.
This Jaguar will cost $77,000 to restore and probably sell again for 3 times that. At Bewley, most people are passionate about one make of car and often just one model. Even so, with patience and perseverance, the restorer can find just about anything he's looking for. But what is the fascination of taking dismantled parts and halting their decline into scrap?
It's a challenge, I think. It's looking like a mechanical puzzle. And, well, that's something I'm interested in technical things, and, you know, something which I enjoy doing. I suppose you're sort of trying to place yourself in the mentality of the people who thought of the cars or designed them in the first place. Trying to understand well, why they put things together in the way they did. It's obviously a high-quality vehicle, a sort of poor man's Bentley, I suppose. which I can identify myself with, I suppose, rather than with a Bentley.
If a pre-war Rover is a poor man's Bentley, then what's an old gas can and a model train? Toys, that's what. The Autojumble is mostly a fantasy world, a time warp where car collectors dream of things to come or relive days gone by. Classic cars have become a massive subculture of enterprise, enthusiasm, and knowledge. And there are bargains still to be had. This, believe it or not, is one. An extremely rare Railton Terraplane, smashed beyond recognition. It was auctioned for $3,400. When restored, it will fill a small but important missing link in the often neglected history of technology.
The Discovery Channel will return with classic cars.
There goes the giant Bentley. It is set to average 120 miles an hour.
Vintage racing cars. Yesterday's scraps of metal show the history of automobile style. Restoration is more than an art. Collectors combine passion with investment to make these not just classic cars, but wheels of gold.
It's going at £1,200, and it's Weatherby all done at £1,200. Your bids are $1,292. 9,250, 66,000, thank you. It's sold at 180,000. Thank you very much, sir. 102.
It's 7 a.m. on a cold winter morning at this Kensington, England auto storage. Today, these cars are beginning a journey that will possibly lead them from one owner to another, from one value to another. The principles of ownership and value are at the heart of the classic car market. With a little help, the cars start easily, and many are driven to their destination. Others, such as this 1948 Talbot Lago, need alternative means of transportation. With previous owners in Australia, America, and Britain, this Talbot Lago last sold for $37,000 in 1981. Today, its reserve price is over $500,000. Once raced by the famous driver Louis Chiron, it won the 1949 French Grand Prix. Now, this triumphant winner is transported from one owner to another, changing hands and gaining in value. Having always remained in one family, this 1926 Sunbeam Super Sports has extensive documentation of a fascinating history. It is new on the market and will attract immense interest because it has no prior benchmark. Known as the International, this 1933 1.5-liter Le Mans was the first Aston ever to be entered for the Mille Miglia. Unfortunately, it never finished the race after colliding with a stone post and then with a house. Of the 77 cars about to be sold, 27 are without reserve. This is perhaps the clearest sign of panic in the marketplace. The truth is that nobody really knows anymore which cars are worth what. That is why today's auction is of crucial importance to the international car market. Douglas Jameson, the managing director of Coy's Auctioneers, appears confident.
The market is not as strong as it has been. I mean, economically, things are bad anyway. We've got some very good cars and some very good reserves. The answer is Wednesday night will tell. most of our buyers are in the south or southeast, and there's a lot of Europeans coming over, so I think we should be okay for people. We've done these for several years now, and there's no point in being nervous. It's too late. It's either going to happen or not happen.
Whether it does or doesn't happen is of great importance to those whose livelihood depends on the buying and selling of classic cars. Just to prepare for this auction will cost thousands of dollars. It's an investment that auctioneers hope will pay off. Dealers, too, are especially familiar with the ups and downs of the classic car market. Aston Martin specialist Paul Michaels explains what to look for at an auction.
It's always important to go to the big auctions, and COIs hold them about 4 times a year. Last week we had Sotheby's, and that was quite informative and showed an actual, first time for quite a long time, a rise in the market. If we can get to a point where the market is seen to have bottomed out, I think then people will be less nervous about going back in. The difficulty recently has been that nobody's known where bottom is, so they've been nervous to bring back funds in case they may be 10% over what next week's price is. With a couple of successful auctions establishing a bottom price, then I think the market will move forward in an orderly fashion.
Market movements are dependent on hard sales. With prices in turmoil, it's surprising that people still want to spend money on classic cars. The buyers about to fill these seats have varied reasons for being here. Auctioneer Peter Bainbridge.
At an event like this, I think it's well spread, truly, between the collector, the investor, and the dealer, from all parts of the globe.
Some buyers have followed auction trends and will be able to evaluate the ups and downs of the cars in front of them. Some are driven by a passion, which has little to do with the market, while others are only looking for bargain basement prices and future profits. Despite the current economic climate, the auctioneer is positive.
I think it would be silly to be outrageously optimistic, but we've got a great selection of cars. We've done a lot of homework prior to the auction, and I think that's going to reflect in the sale this evening.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We've got a selection for you tonight, this evening, an exciting array of cars, many at no reserve. Could all bidders go to the accounts office downstairs after they have been successful in purchasing a car? It is important that we know this evening just what your intentions are with respect to settlement and what your transport requirements might be. Lastly, all cars that are not collected by 5 p.m. tomorrow will be transported to store a car in Newport Pagnell at a cost of £100.
This secret store-a-car location is home to many magnificent cars. Despite its farmyard appearance, it is in fact an air-conditioned retreat for cars whose relationships with their owners is less than personal. Director of Store-a-Car, Alan Cohen, explains this bizarre business.
A typical client of ours would be a Hollywood film producer or director who may come in here 5 or 6 times a year, and he requires his car at London Airport or at a London hotel. It's our duty to get it there. If he wants it in Aberdeen, we have to get it to Aberdeen. Or we have a client who's got a car in Geneva, we have to fly somebody over to Geneva and pick his car up, or anywhere on the continent. And we do that on a regular basis. But mainly our customers are business people who look at a car 2 reasons. One is an investment, or perhaps because they want to just look after it and because they think that they one day will drive it on a regular basis.
During the car's stay, their ownership may change as they are sold at auction by one investor to another, and then returned to the location by the new owner for indefinite storage. Another fate for some of these cars is repossession by finance houses. A Ferrari stored here was bought by its owner for $1.5 million in borrowed money. As interest rates rose, he could no longer afford the repayments, and so the finance company reclaimed the car, which the market now values at less than half the purchase price. Bought and sold unseen over the telephone and rarely driven, many of these cars are simply entries in a balance ledger. Storage under these conditions may seem an uneventful and rather humiliating life for a sought-after classic. But there are moments of activity for some of them. For these cars, the Store-A-Car Gold service is perhaps the final humiliation. It may not have been on the road for several months, but this gull-wing Mercedes has traveled many miles. But for most of the cars here, the only movement will be the journey on the back of a trailer to and from the auction house.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start the evening now. We are through on the phones, I hope. Yes, we're through on the phones. We have a 1962 Austin Healey Mark II for you. Good example of the classic British sports car. To start the evening, where are you going to open the bidding, please? No reserve. Let's go for £5,000. 5,000 to open the bidding, please. No reserve. It's got to be sold. Let's see, 2,000, not a penny less. Come on now. Thank you. 2,000 a bid. 3,000 anywhere now. Got a bit of 2,000. 3,000.
But there are people whose reasons for buying a classic car have nothing to do with investment. Factors like looks and appearance do appeal to certain collectors.
I think there are people who buy cars from an aesthetic viewpoint, most certainly. Not the dealer. The dealer, I think, buys for profit, of course. But there are plenty of collectors who I think have an eye for style and design. We're always pleased to see them here.
Got a bit of £6,000. It's £6,000 going to be sold. It's £6,000. Any more bids then? 7,000. Oh, that's an interesting ploy, isn't it? 6, thank you. 7 now, please. Do I hear? Yours is 6,000.
The criteria for buying are varied and diverse.
Got a bit of 7, thank you. 7,000.
For me, a classic car is one that at the time it was new, it was very much sought after and perceived to have a new R factor. And then as time goes by, the people who probably couldn't afford it when that was new suddenly start chasing it in its older life.
As well as a very rare Aston Martin Zagato, this collection also includes a DB4, DB5, and this 1970s Ogle. It represents more than investment. It represents a passion.
The Discovery Channel will return with cars.
This collection was also inspired by passion. It belongs to an Italian who enjoys driving Porsches, Jaguars, and Lancias. But amongst them, the car that really excites Sandro Veronese, managing director of Pirelli UK, is a Fiat 500 Jolly.
It's a very nice car to drive. You can drive 5 people, take 5 people around. I used to take my kids to school with this one. As you can see, it's got some particular features like the mahogany bumpers, mahogany around here, the Nardi steering wheel, rev counter, and that sort of things.
For Sandro, it's the car's history that gives it value. It supposedly belonged to Agnelli, head of motor giant Fiat, who used it on his yacht. The story goes that the steering wheel's location on the right-hand side was so that Agnelli would be next to the curb when he parked.
I wouldn't bet on it, but it's a nice story. When I buy a car, I like to have time to test the car, to talk to the owners, possibly. I bought them certainly not as an investment, but because I like them. And then as a second priority, I expect when I sell them, if I ever sell them, to make some money.
This car would certainly make some money if sold today. As one of the world's most expensive cars, and certainly one of the most beautiful, its owner, Pink Floyd drummer Nick Mason, is modest about its value.
I think the idea of cars for investment, as in with most things for investment, unless you have a passion for it, you're likely to be wasting your time and you're likely to buy things that are really not that good. I mean, some of my cars have become valuable, but if I'd been advising someone else as an investment, I would never have bought those cars. I'd have bought the wrong cars, in fact. Taking, say, perhaps the Ferrari GTO, which is a really good example of a car I have no interest in valuing. I bought the car 12, 15 years ago because I loved it. I lusted after it. I actually have a photograph of that car that I took when I was a student and went to Goodwood to watch club racing in the early 60s. And I took that, the picture of the car because I just thought it was the most beautiful car in the world. And it was only when I bought the car sort of 15 years later that I realized that it was the same car because the number plate had changed and so on and so forth. And frankly, I get extremely depressed by the whole business of the car values being touted around. I mean, what's happened, things fortunately are sort of settling down. For about 10 years, I was thought of as an eccentric lunatic. And then for 2 years, I was thought of as a brilliant investor. And now I'm thought of as an eccentric lunatic again because people have talked about the sort of £10 million car. And I think now you can safely say that that's a joke, that people are no longer interested in cars at that sort of money.
Initially bought out of the love of racing, Nick's cars now form part of a successful film and television props company. Cars like this 1934 Aston LM18 date back to the days when the British sports car was virtually invincible. This Maserati is known as a birdcage because of its complex, almost wire-like structure designed to reduce the weight of the car. This D-Type is one of the great racing success stories produced by Jaguar. Its in-house styling could easily be mistaken for the flowing lines of a Pininfarina designed Ferrari. But a man with so many cars surely has a favorite.
There's no such thing as a perfect car, but what it should have are a number of qualities in varying amounts. It should be beautiful to look at. It should be a wonderful thing to drive. And ideally have history as well. And I think if you can have those three aspects to a car, you're getting somewhere close to my idea of the perfect car.
Of course, some cars are more perfect than others.
This is possibly the worst car in the collection. It's a Trabant. And the reason I got it is because I get fascinated by a particular item of sort of motoring history, really. And this is quite an important car because it's East European, and it's incredibly badly made, and it's ecologically very unsound, although there is a belief that the car itself may be biodegradable, because there seems to be a lot of sort of papier-mâché in it.
Whatever the history or qualities of these cars, for Nick Mason, there is only one overriding factor.
I like driving the cars, that's why I bought them. It's nice to get pleasure from looking at them as well, but a car at rest is actually not as beautiful as a car in motion.
In some cases, the classics have less poetry than motion. This car is being driven by one of the country's leading vintage Bentley dealers, Stanley Mann.
The car on my left here is a 1929 3-litre vintage Bentley with an 8-litre vintage Bentley engine. So there are no parts in it that predate over 1930. The car was built using pure steels. The chassis is made of the best steel that money could buy. The radiator is solid nickel silver, it's not plated. Under the bonnet is an engine built with a slide ruler and a lot of brains and very little in the way of what we would now have as a computer.
The craftsmanship and materials required to make a car of such high quality today would bring with it a price tag over $500,000. This particular car is now valued at twice that. What exactly do you get for your money? A design, the metal, rarity, the sum of its parts, or an old leathery smell?
The value of a Bentley is the fun that you get out of it. Money-wise, to find a good Bentley owner, he probably wouldn't tell you what he paid for it, and he's not really that interested in selling it. It's a bit like owning a Spitfire. Tremendous fun to fly, but you could fly in a modern jet more comfortably. But to own something like this, the blood boils, everything starts happening. The adventure starts just starting the car up.
Bentleys are the blue chip of classic cars.
If it's fun to drive, somebody else will want to own it as well. So the price will always keep going up. They were expensive when they were made, and they're going to continue being expensive because they're still a practical, usable, fun machine.
These pre-war cars are traditionally known as vintage. Their values do not fluctuate as much as cars which have only recently been termed classic. One very special Bentley recently became the focus for a great deal of controversy after it sold for $15.5 million.
There goes the giant Bentley.
Old number 1 crashed in 1932, killing its driver and causing extensive damage to the car. After much restoration, there was skepticism that the Bentley Ed Hubbard sold was the same car until a judge ruled that the car was indeed the original.
Old number 1, undoubtedly the most famous racing Bentley of all time. Famous for her results, and recently famous for a most interesting court case. Having sold the car and made a suitable contract, I received a letter saying that the car was a fake. And of course this caused me to go to court to protect the car's reputation and also to protect my reputation. After 12 days in court, with all the available experts, with the archives from the Bentley Drivers Club, the car was proven legally and officially to be what all enthusiasts, all Bentley enthusiasts know it is. And here she is today, a car with a wonderful history. And when we're talking about the history of a car, we're talking about probably in a car like this, the most important part of the car. We're not talking about just the metal, any more than we're talking about the paint or just the paint and the canvas on a famous painting. We're talking about the history, the continuous history, and that's the value. The metal, relatively unimportant. The history makes this car so very different from other cars.
With such constant modification, authenticating cars is clearly a difficult business.
If the judge had decided this car was not old number 1 because of all the changes that have taken place in its racing life, then there would hardly be, and possibly not even be, one original car in the world that had raced. Because I can't imagine even practicing and preparing for your first race without making some basic changes to the car as the way it came out of the factory.
The case of old number 1 has had an effect on all classic car collectors.
160, Peter. He wants 160, Peter. 160. Yes or no, Peter? No.
Provenance is a fine art term now in common use amongst classic car collectors. It means the history of the car from manufacture through ownership, races, and collections. It is this that gives a car its value, both to individuals and to the market.
Thank you. 175,000. 180, thank you. 180,000.
But for some, the market will always be the only true guide to the value of individual cars.
Please. 190, please.
Just as a record-breaking sale of a Van Gogh painting will have an effect on all Van Goghs, so the sale of a Bentley Continental will have an effect on all post-war Bentleys.
197, sir.
This is why some classic car collectors remain obsessed with fluctuations in market prices.
199, sir. Yes, sir. 199. It's 199,000. Any further bids this evening? All down at 199 then. Your car, sir. 199. A lovely car. Well done.
Having once belonged to actor Rex Harrison, the new owner of this Bentley S1 Continental has bought some great metal and some fabulous history. It is also a fabulous sale for coys, who take 10% from both buyer and seller. The Talbot failed to reach its reserve, but later sold for $589,000, making auctioneers a cool $118,000. The Sunbeam sold for $84,000, 100 times the manufacturer's 1926 price. With the party over, the investors, collectors, and dealers drive home in their modern BMWs and Volvos. Their latest acquisitions await collection and long-term storage. That is, until the next auction.
Coming up next, pilgrims trek the slopes of the Andes seeking forgiveness from the gods on Terra X. Then meet the she-wolves of the sea in a special presentation of Pirates, only on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.